All right, good afternoon once again. I believe everyone is doing good. And uh, once again, we thank God for the life that He has given us. And, we are moving forward. Uh, Not all that we have wished for, have been materialized, thus far. But I believe that with God, all things are possible. Today, we are going to look at, another text because it's one popular text. And even today, a lot of people appeal to this particular text whenever they want to talk about the judgment that in their view is about to come. So that is what we are going to look at as to whether that is actually the case. So it's Matthew chapter number 13, but let's start at verse 24. Let's start at verse 24. So this is what Jesus Christ said that another parable he put forth to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. Verse 26. But when the grain had sprouted and produced a crop, then the tares also appeared. Verse 27. So the servant of the owner came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tares? Verse 28. And he said to them, An enemy has done this. The servant said to him, Do you want us to go? Go then. Do you want us then to go and gather them up? Verse 29. But he said, No, lest while you gather up the tares, you also uproot the wheat with them. Now verse 29 says that let both grow together until the harvest. And at that time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, First gather together the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. All right. Now, this is judgment. Clearly, this is a judgment language because it's contain, certain eschatological element in it. There's element of resurrection or the harvest, and also the time of judgment. And you know, you remember that at some point in time, the angels have, or the servant have inquired from, the owner of the field, uh, whether he would want them to go and gather them up. But the owner told them that, wait, lest while you gather up the tares, you also uproot the wheat with them. And see, there's going to be a time when the owner of the field is going to permit the reapers or the harvesters to do the gathering. The the good seed will be gathered into his barn, whilst the tares will be burned up. But um, let us move on to probably verse 30, 34, because Christ is going to explain the meaning of this parable. But what I want you to understand, or what I want you to know, is that at this point in time, at the beginning of the planting or the sowing of the seed, they were not distinguishable from the rest. So it, will, it would have been difficult for them to identify the true sons of the field. Actually, we are talking about the kingdom of God, okay? And the tension here is the true sons of God or the true sons of the kingdom, versus the wicked. And they wanted to do the separation. They wanted to separate them into sheep and goats, as you later see it in Matthew 25, the time of separation, the time of judgment. So the reapers are inquiring from the owner of the kingdom, that is the kingdom of God, that is God, that whether they should go at that time to do the gathering. But it says that you know they should hold on a while. The time of the harvest is one which is held up in God's own authority. But at the right time, He will permit them to do the gathering. This is also to say that that day and hour of the gathering, no man knows except the Father. So when you move on to verse, I believe verse 39, he explained this parable. It says that, starting at verse 30, so it says that then Jesus sent the multitude away and went into the house, and his disciples came to him, saying, explain to us the parable of the tares of the field. Verse 37, then he answered and said to them, he who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. Then verse 38, the field is the world, the good seeds are those of the king, are the sons of the kingdom, but the tares are the sons of the wicked one. Verse 39, the enemy who sowed them is the devil, and the harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels. So the time of the harvest takes place at the end of the age. Okay. And those who will be, given that right to do the harvest, to gather the reapers, were the angels. And so, let's advance reading. So it says that in verse 39, it says that, verse 40, it says that, therefore, as the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of this age. Now, this is what I want to say, that oftentimes we hear people saying that, or let them grow together, let both grow together till the harvest. But here, Jesus Christ is telling us the time, the framework of time for which the harvest takes place, for which the reapers will come and to do the gathering. It says that it's at the end of the age. So, as a good Bible student, this is what you have to. This is the question you have to, pose to yourself. What aging in question? What is the age that Jesus Christ had in mind? Is it the age of this material cosmos, or what age? Okay, when it comes to the Bible, there are two ages in the Bible. We have this age and the age to come. So this age is reference to the age in which the Christ and apostles lived, and the age to come is that age following the dissolution of the age in which Christ and apostles lived. So Jesus Christ and apostles lived in an age called Jewish age. They were living in the Jewish age. Remember, Jesus Christ lived and died under the old covenant. At that time, the age of the kingdom has not yet come. So this age is referent of the Jewish age, or what we call the Mosaic age. So Jesus Christ is saying that the harvest, the time when he will send out the reapers to go and do the gathering, occurs at the end of the Jewish age. You see, the moment we don't get this concept clear, the moment we don't, we miss this point, then we are going to uh, cause hermeneutical blunder. Okay, that is why. See, this has eluded many. This has eluded many. That is why even today people keep on saying that let both grow together, let both grow together, because they believe that this has not yet occurred. But according to Jesus Christ, while giving explanation to the parable that he gave, he says that the harvest is at the end of this age. So this age is he was talking about the age in which they lived in. Jesus Christ wasn't a Christian. Christianity had not unfolded at the time Christ was alive. Okay, it was rather after his departure, 40 days later. Okay, before the uh, before the, excuse me, 50 days, 10 days later after his departure, that was when uh, the Christianity broke out. Okay, now the history has it that in the first century it was difficult to identify those true sons of the kingdom versus the sons of the wicked, because remember the wicked, particularly the Judaizers, okay, they also had a kingdom, they also had a synagogue, they also had a temple, okay, and they believed that they are the true sons of God based on the Torah, okay, in Revelation chapter number 2 verse 9 and Revelation chapter 3 verse 9. There were some people were calling themselves Jews, but they rather belong to the synagogue of Satan. And remember, the bad seed were sown by the Satan. Okay, that is the sons of the kingdom of Satan, or Satan or the devil. Okay, versus the true sons of the kingdom. So it was very, very difficult at the time, at the beginning of the kingdom, to identify those who are of the kingdom of God versus those who are of who are of the synagogue of devil. Okay, so at that infantile stage, when the church was planted or sown, on the day of Pentecost, it was very, very difficult to do that. Okay, but there was going to come a time when the Lord will come to do the gathering into His kingdom. That gathering is also called resurrection, or it's also the time of the harvest. Okay, but it says that that time of the gathering, the time of the harvest, is at the end of the age. That is very, very, very important. So you should be able to identify the age in question. That is the Jewish age, not Christian age. This age is, is referring to the age in which they lived in, and none of Christ or Christ did not live in that age, or did not live in this age, in this Christian dispensation. He lived in the old covenant age, the Jewish age, born by a woman, born under the law to redeem them from the law. So he died under the old covenant. And so the age that he spoke of was the Jewish age and not the Christian age. And that is when the harvest takes place. But it says that they are going to be, the good seed will be gathered. It says that first gather together the tares and bind them to in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat in my barns. The barns there is the kingdom. So the righteous are going to be gathered into his kingdom, but the sons of the wicked will be burnt up. Okay, and when were these people burned? When were the apostate Israel, the wicked Israel, when were they burned? They were burned in the 70 AD pogrom, when the Titus and his people came to destroy Jerusalem, set it on fire. That was the time when the wicked were burned, when the wicked were destroyed. Remember what Jesus Christ said in Matthew chapter number 28, when the wicked killed those who were sent to them to invite them to the kingdom, okay, including killing his only begotten son. so it says that so it says that when the king heard of the heard that the people to whom he had entrusted, his field to them, or he has given his field to them to manage, have killed or slew his only begotten son. He was there. That action infuriated him, and he came and burned up their city. And that is what occurred in 70 AD. Because remember, it was the apostate Israel who were responsible for killing those who were sent to them, including Messiah himself. When you read Matthew 23, verse 30 to 37. Okay, so the burning, they were gathered and burned up, okay, in 70 AD judgment. That was the time of the harvest. That was the time when the angels came to, to gather them up and burn them. But the righteous one, the good seed, the sons, true sons of the kingdom, they were in the kingdom of God. Okay, they were gathered into the kingdom of God. Okay, so when you continue, it says that the Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all things that offend and those who practice lawlessness. So the Israel, apostate Israel, were ones responsible for practicing lawlessness. Okay, they are going to be taken out of the kingdom. Remember, because of their wickedness, in Matthew chapter number 21, verse 43, Jesus Christ says that, because they did not, bring forth the good fruit, He is going to destroy them and give the kingdom, to those bearing it fruit. So that was the taking away of the kingdom from them occurred in 70 AD, because remember, they were the sons of the kingdom. The kingdom was a promise given to their fathers. Okay, so they will have to inherit that promise, but because they did not adhere to the gospel, because they slew and persecuted those who were sent to them, to invite them into the kingdom, the Lord came, took away the kingdom from them, and give it to those who were bearing fruit. It says that he came to his own did receive him not. So as many as believed, they were given the opportunity, okay, to become God's children. They were the true sons of God who inherited the kingdom in 70 AD. Because remember, it was in 70 AD that the kingdom came. But that coming of the kingdom was tied to the coming of the Son of Man. In Luke chapter number 21, verse 27, you see the Lord coming in the clouds, okay, tied it to the day of salvation. But in verse 31, says that, in relation to the clouds coming and the destruction and all of this is the time of the kingdom, okay, in verse 31. Okay, so that was the time when the righteous will be gathered into the kingdom. So when you move on, it says that the Son of Man, the Son of uh, the Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and those who practice lawlessness, and will cast them out into furnace of fire. They will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Of course, this is what we are talking about resurrection. The time of gathering is the time of resurrection. So remember in Matthew chapter number 8, this also occurred. Okay, when it says that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob from north, east, south, and west, and all the prophets will sit down in the kingdom of heaven, when Israel, the apostate Israel, will be thrust out into outer darkness, where they will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. And that, that cast, the time when they were cast out into that outer darkness, when they wail and gnashed it, was in 70 AD, because that was when their city was burned up. That is when they were destroyed. You understand? So that is what is, taking place here. But remember, this is taking place in connection with the coming of the Son of Man with his angels. And what are they going to do? They are going to gather out of his kingdom. Okay, all things that offend and those who practice lawlessness. And they will cast them out into outer darkness, where they will be wailing and they will be gnashing teeth. And remember, it says in verse 43 that then the righteous will shine forth as sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears, let them hear the parable of the hidden treasure. So whilst the righteous will inherit the kingdom, the wicked ones will be burned, they will be destroyed. Okay, and that is what occurred in 70 AD. When the Lord came, he came along with those who are his. In First Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 12, which is a quote from Zechariah chapter 14, verse 5 and 6. Okay, he came along with them into the kingdom. But those who practiced lawlessness were taken out of the kingdom, and they were destroyed at the end of the age. That was the Jewish age. See, the time statement is very, very important, because that is telling you when that was to take place. It says that it takes place at the end of the age. And that end of this age, sorry, that this age was the age in which Christ and the apostle lived. And that was the Jewish age, not Christian age. So in Matthew chapter number 24, what happened? It says that in verse 3, says the apostles came to him and says that now as Jesus sat on Mount Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, tell us, when will these things be? What will be the sign of your coming and the end of this age, or the end of the age? Or the proper rendition is the consummation of this age. It's the same age of Matthew 13. Okay, where the harvest takes place, where the Son of Man comes, where he comes with his angels and do the gathering into the kingdom, and also the burning of the wicked. So when you get to verse 30, it says that then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory, and he will send out his angels with a great sound of trumpet, and they will gather together his elect from four winds, from one heaven to one, from one of the heavens to the other. So this was the time of the gathering into the kingdom. This is the time of the coming of the Lord. This was when the harvest took place. Okay, but in verse 34 it said that surely I say to you, this generation will by no means pass away till all these things takes place. So the coming of the Son of Man, the clouds coming, the angels, the gathering, and everything, it says that it takes place before those who were there in the first century have all died. So you see, it just don't come today in 2025 to talk about let both grow together to the harvest. No, the harvest did occurred in 70 AD, because in verse 30 where it says that in connection with the cloud coming of the Lord, it says that he will send out his angels with a great sound of trumpet, and they will gather together. That is the time of harvest. That is the fulfillment of Matthew 13. The angels, the reapers, are going to do this. They will come attended by trumpet, and they will gather together his elect. That is from four winds, from one end of heaven to another, into where? Into his band, into his kingdom. Okay, but the wicked will be destroyed. And this is what occurred in 70 AD, right? Again, in Matthew chapter number 16, then we draw the curtains down. In Matthew chapter number 16, in verse 27, it says that for the Son of Man will come in the glory of his Father with his angels. Those are the reapers. Okay, the harvest takes place at the end of the age when the Son of Man will come with his angels, and they are going to do the gathering. Some will be, bundled up and they will be burned, but others will be gathered into his band, into his kingdom. So here he's telling you that but he says that that takes place at the end of the Jewish age, and the Jewish age, ended when the city and the temple were destroyed in 70 AD. For the Son of Man will come in the glory of his Father with his angels, then he will reward each one according to his work. So the wicked will be judged accordingly, according to their works, while the righteous will also be judged according to their works. But remember, it says that the righteous will shine forth in the kingdom of God. That is Matthew chapter number 25, verse 34. But both I quote from Daniel chapter number 7, I believe verse 21 and verse 27. It's just a reiteration and fulfillment of what the prophet said will come. But all of that, took place at the end of the Jewish age, which was in 70 AD. So the Lord will come with his angels, and they will reward each one according to their works. So how are you going to see their works being judged? In that the wicked will be burned, will be destroyed, but the righteous will have opportunity to search with the Lord in his kingdom. But assuredly I say to you, verse 28, there are some standing here who shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. The coming of the Son of Man in his kingdom, will be attended by those who are fallen asleep in him, and they are going to be given a seat in the kingdom of God. Revelation chapter 3, verse 21. First Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 13. But it says that those who were there in the first century will all not have died before the Lord comes with his angels to reward each one according to his work, before the Son of Man comes in his kingdom with these people. So you don't sit here today to talk about let both grow together to the harvest. No, the gathering has already occurred. It was already running its course in the first century, because people were being gathered, people were and being gathered into the kingdom. Paul says that our gathering to him, Colossians chapter number 1, verse 13, Act chapter number 14, verse 22, with many tribulation we must enter into the kingdom. Okay, we have been entered, it says that we have been delivered into the kingdom of God. So the gathering was already taking place. In Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 1, Paul said that we are being gathering into the kingdom in view of the coming of the Son of Man. And the coming of the Son of Man take place in 70 AD, as we have just read in Matthew chapter number 16, 27, 28, and also Matthew chapter number 24, verse 3, and verse 31, and verse 32, and verse 33, 34 rather. All that has taken place. But at the same time, because of ignorance and because of the way we have been made to believe, eschatology has been taught, we have been made to believe that these are things, stuff that are yet to come. So when you see, even when it is clearly stated that the harvest and everything takes place at the end of this age, they said that no, we are living in the last days. We are, so this is our age. But no, that is not the case. We are rather living in the age without end, world without end. Ephesians 3:21, Isaiah 7 verse Isaiah 9 verse 7, world without end. So you don't have end of the age in the world without end. But the last days, the world with end was the Jewish age, Isaiah 49 verse 1 to 10, and Deuteronomy chapter 31, 39, and Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 5 and verse 6 and verse 20.